Buenos dias, campeones, and welcome to the first read aloud by Mr. B for the year 2021. Whoop, whoop. So, since it's a new year, we're going to start reading a new type of book. In kindergarten, we read primarily two types of books, fiction and nonfiction. Today's story is a nonfiction story, and let me tell you the difference. Beforehand, we've been reading fiction stories, which are stories that are really good and entertaining, but they may not be based on facts. For instance, The Three Little Pigs, that's a fiction story. And how do we know it's a fiction story? Because we know that pigs can't really build houses and they can't speak. So we know that even though that's a really fun story to read and it's entertaining, it's not a book that's based on facts. Now, reading books that are fiction can be a wonderful treat. I love reading fiction books because it takes me to places I've never been before. But nonfiction books, like the book we're going to read today, is a book that's all the information you hear on it, you can believe is the truth. There's scientific facts used in this book we're reading today. So we know that everything we read is something that actually does happen. So the book we're going to read today is about the life cycle of polar bears. So let's get started on that. Mr. B is going to share his screen. Give him 1 minute to do that. And we'll be on our way. All right. So The Life Cycle of a Polar Bear by Rebecca Songer and Bobby Kalman. Okay. Now, polar bears are mammals. A polar bear is a mammal. A mammal is a warm-blooded animal. The body of a warm-blooded animal stays about the same temperature in both hot and cold places. A mammal has body parts called lungs for breathing air. It also has a backbone. A mammal's body is covered in hair or fur. A baby mammal nurses or drinks milk from its mother's body. Polar bears are much like human beings. We're mammals too. We have body parts that are called lungs that we use to help us breathe, and we also have a backbone. So polar bears are bears of the sea. Polar bears are marine mammals. Marine mammals live mainly in oceans. Scientists call polar bears Ursus maritimus, or bears of the sea. Unlike some marine animals, however, polar bears are equally comfortable living in water and on land. They are often considered to be both marine mammals and land mammals. Where do polar bears live? A polar bear's habitat is the Arctic. A habitat is the natural place where an animal lives. All polar bears live in the North Polar region or the area surrounding the North Pole. The northern polar region includes the Arctic Ocean and the northern coasts of North America, Europe, and Asia. Most polar bears live on ice along the coast and near the many islands in the Arctic Oceans. Chilling in the Arctic. The climate in the Arctic is cold, dry, and windy. Some parts of the Arctic are covered with snow and ice year-round. In winter, the temperature can drop below negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 30 degrees Celsius. Even in the middle of summer, their temperatures rarely rise above 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees centigrade. A polar bear's body. A polar bear can stay warm even on the icy lands and in the freezing waters of the Arctic. It stays warm because its body is designed to survive in this habitat. A polar bear's body can conserve or hold in a lot of heat. In fact, a polar bear may actually become too hot when it moves too quickly. Paws and claws. A polar bear has large paws. The toes on a polar bear's front paws are partly webbed or connected by flaps of skin. The powerful paws and webbed toes act as paddles that pull the polar bear's big body through the water. When a polar bear walks on pack ice, it grips the slippery surface using its strong, pointed claws. Holding in heat. A polar bear's body holds in heat in many ways. A polar bear has white fur all over its body. The fur is made up of several layers. The top layer of fur consists of long guard hairs. These hairs keep cold water from reaching the bear's skin. Beneath the guard hairs is a layer of fur called underfur. Underfur traps heat close to the polar bear's skin. The skin is black. The color black absorbs the sun's heat. Beneath the bear's skin is a thick layer of fat called blubber. Blubber helps hold in the bear's body heat. What is a life cycle? Every animal goes through a set of changes called a life cycle. First, the animal is born or hatches from an egg. It then grows and its body changes. Finally, the animal becomes mature or adult. Mature animals can mate or join together with other animals of their species to make babies. Lifespan. A life cycle is not the same as a lifespan. An animal's lifespan is the length of time the animal lives in the wild. Male polar bears live for about 25 years, and female polar bears live for about 30 years. Polar bears kept in zoos can live for over 40 years. Their lives can never be the same as the lives of polar bears in the wild, however. A polar bear's life cycle begins with the birth of a cub or baby polar bear. Cubs are born in groups called litters. Most litters consist of only 2 cubs. A mother polar bear feeds and protects her cubs. When the cubs are about 3 months old, their mother begins teaching them how to hunt and swim. By the time most polar bears are 2 or 3 years old, they are ready to leave their mothers and live on their own. They are not yet mature, however. Female polar bears are mature when they are about 5 years old. Male polar bears are mature when they are about 6 years old. Newborn cubs. Newborn polar cubs weigh only about 1 pound or 0.5 kilograms each. Cubs cannot see or hear. Their eyes and ears are sealed shut. Their tiny bodies appear to be furless, but they have fine short hairs covering their skin. Depending on mom. Polar bear cubs are totally helpless when they are born. Their mother must feed and protect them. The cubs nurse from their mother's body. For the first few weeks of their lives, the cubs do nothing but nurse and nestle close to their mother to keep warm. The cubs shown left are nursing. That's right here. Time to explore. When the cubs are about 4 weeks old, their ears open and they can hear. About 1 week later, their eyes open and they can see. By the time the cubs are 2 months old, they begin exploring their den. The cubs also begin to wrestle and play together. Hello, world. By the time the cubs are about 3 months old, they have gained over 20 pounds or 9 kilograms, and they have grown thick fur. They are now ready to leave their den. The cubs follow their mother out into the chilly air. It's time for them to learn about life in the Arctic. Growing up. When cubs leave their den, they stay close to their mother. Their mother teaches them how to survive in the Arctic. Over the next few years, the cubs will learn important skills from her, such as swimming and hunting. The mother bear may do these activities more often than she needs to in order to let her cubs practice. On guard. The mother bear works hard to protect her cubs from danger. Male polar bears may attack and eat the cubs if they can get close enough to them. The mother will fight males that are much larger than she is to save her cubs from harm. Practice fighting. Polar bear cubs born in the same litter are great playmates. They wrestle, play fight, and chase one another. Their mother allows them to practice fighting this way. Someday the cubs will need to know how to defend themselves, so the time spent wrestling with siblings is good preparation. Leaving mom. Most polar bears are weaned when they are 2.5 years old. Although they are not yet fully grown, the young polar bears have already learned how to hunt. Many polar bears leave their mothers at this age. The bears set out on their own to find food. In places where food is hard to find, however, they may stay with their mothers for up to 2 more years. Adult polar bears. Adult polar bears are solitary animals. Solitary animals live alone. Polar bears hunt, feed, and sleep by themselves. When two polar bears meet in the wild, the larger bear stays where it is and the smaller bear runs away. Adult males and females come together only to mate. Sleepy bears. Adult polar bears spend 2/3 of their lives resting. They need to rest to keep up their strength. Polar bears use a lot of energy walking, swimming, hunting for prey, and eating. Prey are the animals the polar bears hunt and eat. All right, now about the hunt. Polar bears spend the winter hunting for food on pack ice. They are carnivores, or animals that eat other animals. Polar bears hunt and eat animals such as walruses, narwhals, beluga whales, and many types of seals. They also eat smaller animals such as seabirds and their eggs. Most polar bears use a method of hunting called still hunting. To still hunt, a polar bear sits silently on pack ice for hours and waits for prey to appear at a breathing hole. This is his breathing hole right here. A breathing hole is an opening in the ice. It is used by mammals that live in water when they need to breathe air. When the prey comes up for air, the waiting polar bear grabs it. Silent stalkers. A polar bear sometimes walks or swims long distances in search of food. It may also stalk or silently follow its prey. Despite its large size, a polar bear can creep up on other animals because its white fur blends in with the ice and snow. A polar bear also swims underwater to get close to prey sitting on ice. Then it leaps out of the water in a surprise attack. Eat and run. As soon as a polar bear finds its prey, it attacks. One blow from a polar bear's powerful paw is enough to kill most animals. The polar bear quickly eats its prey's skin and fat. These parts have important nutrients, which the polar bear needs to stay healthy. The polar bear does not save what it has not eaten. Other animals finish the leftovers. Wow, that was an exciting story about polar bears, right? And remember, this is a nonfiction story. So everything we read, everything that you heard me reading to you is actual facts. These are actual things that happen. And if we could go to the Arctic and sit still for a very long time, we could watch them doing all of the things that we just read about. All right, champions, I hope you've enjoyed this book. I think it's a great way to start our new year of 2021 and to start our journey into the world of nonfiction books. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you soon.